Roman confronts Jacob Fatu. Roman vs. Jacob begins. Raw explodes over Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu shocks Roman. Roman faces his biggest threat. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. What happens when the most powerful man in WWE finally comes face to face with the one person who might not fear him at all? And what if Roman Reigns didn't walk into Raw looking for peace, but looking for answers? Because after what happened on WWE Raw, it honestly feels like the entire Bloodline story just entered a completely different chapter. And no, I'm not exaggerating. This wasn't just another wrestling segment with a couple of stairs and dramatic entrance music. This felt personal, uncomfortable, and tense, like two people standing in the same ring carrying years of pressure that nobody fully understands yet. Somehow, WWE managed to make the whole thing feel dangerous without even throwing a punch at first, and that's the crazy part. You could feel it in the crowd the second Roman Reigns' music hit. That reaction was different. Not just loud, but heavy, like the audience already knew something bad was about to happen. Roman walked slower than usual too. Did anybody else notice that? He wasn't doing the full "I own this place" performance. He looked focused, irritated, almost like a man trying to stay calm while his entire kingdom started slipping through his fingers. And honestly, can you blame him? For years, Roman controlled everything around him. Every conversation, every alliance, every betrayal, every decision in the bloodline somehow revolved around him. He was the center of gravity. Even when people hated him, they still acknowledged him. That was the whole point. Roman wasn't just a champion. He became the system itself. But Jacob Fatu? That's the problem right there. Jacob doesn't look like somebody interested in systems. He looks like chaos wearing wrestling boots, and that's what made this confrontation so fascinating. Before Roman even said a word, the atmosphere already felt strange. Jacob Fatu stood there looking completely unbothered while Roman slowly entered the ring. It felt like watching two storms collide in slow motion. No smiling, no fake respect, no overacting, just tension. The camera kept cutting to fans losing their minds because everybody knew they were witnessing something massive. WWE teased this confrontation for so long that people almost forgot it could actually happen. Then suddenly there they were, standing inches apart, and the scary thing was that Jacob didn't back down at all. Most people in WWE act differently around Roman Reigns. Even veterans sometimes look cautious around him because Roman carries himself like a final boss character who skipped every loading screen. But Jacob Fatu looked at him like, okay, and? That's terrifying. Roman started talking about family, loyalty, and respect, all the classic bloodline language we've heard for years, but this time it sounded different. Less confident, more defensive, almost like Roman was trying to convince himself that he still had control over everything. And Jacob's face during all of this was incredible. He didn't look impressed. He didn't look intimidated. He looked patient, like a predator waiting for the right moment to move. Seriously, Jacob Fatu has mastered that silent intimidation thing. The man can stand still for 10 seconds and somehow make the audience nervous. It's ridiculous. Some wrestlers need giant promos and 20 catchphrases. Jacob just breathes aggressively and suddenly the arena feels unsafe. Then Roman finally addressed the elephant in the room, the power struggle. Because deep down, that's what this entire thing is really about. Not respect, not loyalty, power. Roman knows people are starting to look at Jacob Fatu differently. Fans see him differently. Even the energy around the bloodline story feels different now. There's this growing feeling that Jacob isn't here to serve Roman. He's here to become something bigger, and Roman sees it. You could hear it in the way he spoke. Every sentence felt carefully controlled, but underneath it there was frustration boiling over. Roman's used to being the unquestioned tribal chief. The second somebody enters that space without fear, the entire dynamic changes, and Jacob practically smiled at the idea. That moment when Jacob stepped closer and Roman didn't immediately move forward again, yeah, that was intentional. Tiny detail, huge meaning. WWE knows exactly what they're doing with body language right now, and fans online immediately caught it too. Comment down below right now, do you think Jacob Fatu is eventually going to betray Roman Reigns, or do you think Roman strikes first? Because honestly, I can see both happening, and neither outcome ends peacefully. What made this confrontation even better was how restrained it felt. WWE didn't rush into punches and chaos immediately. They let the silence breathe. They allowed the tension to build naturally. Every stare lasted slightly longer than expected, and every pause felt important. That's old school storytelling right there. In a weird way, it reminded me of those legendary confrontations where the audience becomes completely locked in because they know violence is coming, they just don't know when. Roman kept trying to establish dominance verbally, but Jacob's entire attitude screamed something dangerous. It was like he wasn't asking for permission anymore. He wasn't trying to fit into Roman's world. He was creating his own presence inside it, and that's what scares Roman the most. Not rebellion, replacement, because there's a difference. Roman has dealt with betrayal before. Jey Uso challenged him. Sami Zayn emotionally broke away from him. Solo Sikoa shifted the balance. Roman understands betrayal. But Jacob Fatu represents something much more threatening: evolution. A newer monster, a different kind of leader, and the audience can feel it too. One of my favorite little moments was watching the crowd reactions split throughout the segment. Some fans were still fully behind Roman, while others were completely fascinated by Jacob. You could literally feel the audience choosing sides in real time. That's when you know WWE has something special, because wrestling works best when fans emotionally invest in both sides instead of just waiting for a scripted good guy versus bad guy situation. This feels way messier than that. Roman isn't fully wrong, and Jacob isn't fully wrong either. They both carry themselves like alpha figures who refuse to exist beneath anyone else, and that combination never ends well. Can we talk about how Roman's facial expressions have evolved lately too? Early tribal chief Roman was pure arrogance and calm dominance, but this version has paranoia creeping in now. Tiny moments where you can almost see him questioning everything around him. That's incredible character work. At one point during the confrontation, Roman paused before speaking again, and the crowd started buzzing immediately because it genuinely looked like he was trying to figure Jacob out in real time. Roman usually controls conversations. This time, it felt like Jacob controlled the emotional atmosphere without even talking much. That's power. Then things somehow got even more uncomfortable because once the verbal shots started becoming personal, you could see the entire mood shift. Roman mentioning family obligations and respect sounded less like leadership and more like warning signs, while Jacob carried himself like somebody who already made peace with war. That stare down near the ropes gave me chills. Pure chills. You know what's funny too? WWE fans have spent years fantasy booking dream confrontations inside the Bloodline, but I honestly don't think most people expected this kind of energy between Roman and Jacob. It feels more dangerous than expected, less theatrical and more grounded, like two actual rivals testing each other psychologically. And honestly, WWE needed this because for a while there were people saying the Bloodline story might finally be slowing down. Then Jacob Fatu entered the picture and suddenly everything feels unpredictable again. That unpredictability matters so much in wrestling today because fans are smarter than ever. Audiences usually see twists coming miles away, but this feels uncertain. You genuinely don't know who pulls the trigger first. Roman looked furious at moments, but also strangely cautious, and when have we really seen Roman cautious before? That's rare. Roman usually walks into every situation like he already knows the ending. Jacob disrupted that confidence, and that's exactly why this segment worked so well. Quick side note, whoever decided to constantly zoom in on fans during the confrontation deserves a raise because those reactions were priceless. Some people looked terrified. Some looked ready to jump out of their seats. One guy near ringside genuinely looked like he forgot breathing was important. Wrestling